Martha Watson was watering the roses in her backyard while gazing at the mountain ridges in the distance. Arizona's summer mornings were still pleasant, a precious time before the sun gathered its strength. She cherished these quiet morning hours more than anything. Having retired 2 years ago after working as a nurse at the local hospital for over 30 years, Martha was finally learning to enjoy time to herself. After finishing watering, Martha returned to the kitchen when the phone rang. It was from an unknown number. Normally she would ignore it, but something made her pick up the receiver. "Mom, it's me, Lindsay." Martha was speechless. When was the last time she had heard her daughter's voice? 10 years ago. No, it might have been longer. After getting married and moving to the East Coast, Lindsay only sent Christmas cards, and even those had stopped coming recently. "Lindsay. What is it? Is something wrong?" Martha's voice unintentionally rose. "I'm fine. It's just. I need to talk to you." Lindsay's voice sounded tired. "I got divorced. From Tony." Martha caught her breath. She knew almost nothing about her son-in-law whom she had never met. When Lindsay left home saying she was getting married, her relationship with Martha was already cold. Martha regretted how strict she had been with her daughter back then. "And I'm struggling financially," Lindsay continued, carefully choosing her words. "When I think about Avery." "Avery?" "Yes, my daughter. Your granddaughter. She's turning 15. Martha had almost forgotten she had a granddaughter. She had received news of her birth but had only been sent a few photos afterward. 15 years. Had so much time passed. "Lindsay, are you two in trouble?" On the other end of the line, Lindsay sighed. "Mom, I'll be honest. Could we stay at your house for a while? Just until I find a job and get back on my feet. Please." Martha gazed out the window. The roses in her backyard swayed in the breeze. Complicated emotions swirled in her heart. Anger, sadness, and hope. Perhaps this was a chance to make up for lost time. "Of course, Lindsay. Come anytime." A week later, Martha stood on her porch, watching two figures get out of an old sedan. Lindsay looked thinner than before, with dark circles under her eyes. And beside her stood Avery, with long brown hair reaching her shoulders. Martha's eyes drank in the sight of her granddaughter. July in Arizona brought merciless, scorching sun. Avery was wearing long sleeves. Even though it was thin cotton, it looked hot just to see it. "Mom," Lindsay smiled awkwardly. "It's been a while." Martha didn't know what to say. Her daughter seemed like a stranger. "Come in, it's hot outside." Martha invited them inside. Avery entered silently, head slightly bowed. In the living room, the girl sat on the edge of the sofa, making herself small. "Avery, this is your grandmother, Martha," Lindsay said. "Say hello properly." Avery slowly raised her face. "Nice to meet you, Grandma." Her voice was so soft it was barely audible. Martha gazed into her granddaughter's blue eyes. She resembled Lindsay but had a different shadow about her. A cautious look, as if hiding something. "Avery, you've grown so much," Martha smiled gently. "I've only seen baby pictures of you. I never imagined you'd grow into such a beautiful young lady." Avery gave a small smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. The first few days were filled with an odd tension. None of them seemed to know how to act around each other. Lindsay frequently went out, saying she had job interviews, often not returning until late at night. Martha and Avery found themselves spending more time together. Avery was quiet and rarely initiated conversation. School was on summer break, and the girl spent her time either reading books in her room or listening to music with earphones. And despite the increasingly hot Arizona summer, she always wore long sleeves. One morning, Martha brought cold lemonade to Avery, who was lying in the hammock in the backyard reading a book. "Avery, I brought you some lemonade," Martha said. "Why are you wearing long sleeves in this heat? Wouldn't short sleeves be cooler?" Avery looked up from her book and smiled, trying to cover up. "Thanks, Grandma. I just get cold easily." But Martha could see the sweat on the girl's forehead and her damp collar. She was obviously hot. "Are you sure you're okay?" Martha asked worriedly. "I'm fine," Avery quickly replied, reaching for the lemonade. In that movement, her sleeve rolled up slightly. Martha thought she saw something bluish-purple. But Avery quickly pulled her sleeve down. In that moment, a seed of worry was planted in Martha's heart. Something wasn't right. Avery was hiding something. And that night, Martha decided to check on her granddaughter. "I just get cold easily." The image of her sweating granddaughter saying those words wouldn't leave Martha's mind. Martha woke up in the middle of the night. She listened to a small voice coming from the next room. Avery's room. Was she having a nightmare? Martha got out of bed and stood in the hallway. "Stop, please." A faint voice leaked through the closed door. Martha felt her chest tighten. After hesitating at the door, she knocked gently. "Avery, are you all right?" There was no answer. She was probably talking in her sleep. Just as Martha was about to go back, she heard a small sound. The door opened, and Avery's face peered out from the darkness. "Grandma." "I'm sorry, I heard your voice," Martha said. "I thought you might be having a bad dream." Avery seemed to hesitate for a moment. "I'm fine. Just a dream." Martha felt an indescribable anxiety at the sight of her granddaughter standing in the darkness of her room. "If you ever want to talk about anything, I'm here to listen." Avery nodded slightly. "Thanks, Grandma. But I'm really okay." With that, the girl quietly closed the door. Martha stared at the closed door for a long time. At breakfast, Martha observed Avery's complexion. The girl had shadows of fatigue under her eyes. "You didn't sleep well, did you?" Martha said, offering her toast. Avery shrugged. "A little." "When school starts, you'll make friends," Martha tried to continue the conversation. "The kids in this town are all very nice." "Yes," Avery answered vaguely. "Is Mom still sleeping?" "Yes, she got in late yesterday. Lindsay had come home in the middle of the night." Martha had smelled alcohol. She frowned. Was her daughter really looking for work? "Mom is having a hard time," Avery suddenly said. "With the divorce, and having me to take care of." Martha's heart ached at the serious expression on her granddaughter's face. A 15-year-old girl, worrying about her mother. "You don't have to worry," Martha said gently. "Grandma is here for you." Avery smiled, but the smile seemed empty. A smile hiding something. As a nurse for many years, Martha had been trained to read the truth from patients' expressions. Behind Avery's smile, she sensed a deep wound. At the end of August, school started. Avery silently put on her uniform with a long-sleeved cardigan. "It's going to be hot today," Martha said. "Wouldn't you be better without the cardigan?" "I'll be fine," Avery quickly answered. "The classrooms have air conditioning." Martha said nothing, but her concerns grew day by day. Avery rarely talked about friends from school. She would go straight to her room after school, only appearing at dinner time. Then one day, the situation changed. Lindsay brought a man home. "Mom, this is Tom Bradley," Lindsay said happily. "My new boyfriend." Tom was an attractive man. He wore what looked like an expensive suit and had a confident smile. "Nice to meet you." Tom took Martha's hand. Lindsay has told me a lot about you. Martha responded politely, but she knew Lindsay wouldn't have told him anything about her. She sensed something behind Tom's smile. Where's Avery? Lindsay asked. She's in her room, Martha answered. I'll go get her. When Martha knocked on Avery's door, the girl opened it right away. Grandma. Avery, your mom is back. She's brought a friend with her. Avery's expression changed in an instant. Tension crossed her face, and her body seemed to stiffen. Mom's friend. Martha felt something was off about her granddaughter's reaction. Yes, a man named Tom. Your mom seems to really like him. Avery said nothing but nodded slowly. When they returned to the living room, Tom was sitting on the sofa with his arm around Lindsay's waist. Hey, Avery, Tom greeted her cheerfully. It's been a while. Avery stood frozen. Hello, her voice trembled. Avery, this is Tom. He's taking us out to dinner, Lindsay said happily. Isn't that nice? I have homework, Avery said in a small voice. I can't go. What are you saying? Irritation crept into Lindsay's voice. Tom is being kind to us. It's really all right, Tom displayed a generous smile. Next time, Avery can come with us. Martha looked back and forth between Tom's smile and Avery's expression of what looked like fear. Something was wrong. Her nursing instinct was sending out warnings. That night, Martha passed by Avery's room. The door was slightly open, and she could see the reflection of a small mirror inside. Avery was standing in front of the mirror, rolling up her sleeves. Martha stopped in her tracks. The girl's arms had multiple bluish-purple bruises. Avery whispered to the mirror. If he makes Mom happy. Martha felt the blood drain from her face. She inadvertently caught her breath, making a floorboard creak. Avery quickly turned around, and their eyes met. An expression mixing fear and shame. In that moment, Martha understood everything. As if time had stopped, Martha and Avery stared at each other. The color of fear in Avery's eyes was obvious even in the dim light of the room. The girl hurriedly pulled down her sleeves, hiding her skin with trembling hands. Grandma. Avery's voice was hoarse. Martha didn't know what to say, standing with her hand on the doorframe. In her mind, her experience as a nurse began listing various possibilities. Those bruises were no accident. They were evidence someone had hurt her. Avery, your arms. Martha finally squeezed out the words. Avery shook her head and backed away. It's nothing. I just fell. Martha took a deep breath. She felt as if her 62 years of life experience had prepared her for this moment. She slowly stepped into the room and closed the door. Avery, I was a nurse. I know those bruises on your arm aren't from falling. Tears began to well up in the girl's eyes. She slid down against the wall and sat on the floor. Martha knelt in front of her. Who hurt you? Avery didn't answer. Instead, she said in a small voice, I didn't want to worry you, Grandma. Those words pained Martha's heart. Avery, please talk to me. I want to protect you. No one can protect me, Avery's voice was desperate. Mom can't live without him. Him, do you mean Tom? Martha felt a terrible premonition. Avery nodded slightly. Then, as if a dam had broken, the words began to flow. Tom was really nice at first. He appeared when Mom was struggling after the divorce and helped us a lot. He lent us money and found us a place to live, she continued, hugging her knees. But when Mom isn't around, he changes. Martha touched her granddaughter's shoulder with a trembling hand. How does he change? He gets angry. Blames everything on me. At first, it was just words. But gradually, Avery rolled up her sleeves. Bluish-purple bruises spread across her entire arm. Some were beginning to turn yellow, showing the passage of time. He says, "Your mom can't do anything without me. If I leave, you'll be out on the streets." Anger flared up inside Martha. But she tried to maintain her composure. "Does Lindsay know?" Avery shook her head. "I can't tell Mom. He makes her happy." The girl repeated the words she had said to the mirror. "If he makes Mom happy, I have to endure this much." Martha couldn't stop trembling at those words. A 15-year-old girl prioritizing her mother's happiness over her own safety. How much fear and loneliness must she have felt? "Avery, listen," Martha cupped her granddaughter's face in both hands. "This is not something to endure. You've done nothing wrong. What Tom is doing is a crime. Child abuse is against the law. But Mom needs to know too," Martha said firmly. "We family members need to protect each other." Avery looked up. A small light of hope appeared in her eyes. "Really? You believe me, Grandma?" "Of course," Martha embraced her granddaughter. "I'll protect you. I promise." The next morning, Martha got up early to prepare breakfast. After her conversation with Avery, she had barely slept. She had been thinking all night about how to talk to Lindsay. As she stood in the kitchen watching the sunrise outside the window, she heard footsteps behind her. Turning around, she saw Lindsay standing there. She seemed to have gotten up early for once. "Is there coffee?" Lindsay asked in a sleepy voice. Martha poured coffee into a cup and sat across from her at the table. "Lindsay, we need to talk." Lindsay frowned. "About what?" "About Avery." Martha took a breath. "Tom is hurting her." The color drained from Lindsay's face. "What are you saying?" "Last night, I saw bruises on Avery's arms." "Lots of bruises," Martha explained calmly. "According to her, Tom." "That's a lie," Lindsay interrupted. "Avery wouldn't say such things. Tom has been kind to us." Martha looked into her daughter's eyes. She could see fear and denial mixed in them. "Lindsay, I saw it with my own eyes. Those bruises aren't accidental. Avery falls a lot," Lindsay made excuses. "Besides, teenagers sometimes lie to get attention." "She's your daughter," Martha's voice grew stern. "You should listen to her." Lindsay stood up and put down her cup. "Mom, you don't understand. Tom is helping us. Without him, we have nothing." Hearing those words, Martha realized it was the same thing Avery had talked about. Tom was controlling both mother and daughter financially and emotionally. "Does that mean Avery has to be sacrificed?" Martha asked. Tears welled up in Lindsay's eyes. "Tom wouldn't do that. He's different. Are you going to pretend not to see?" Martha stood up. "As a nurse, I've been trained not to miss signs of abuse. Avery needs help." Lindsay shook her head. "Are you trying to ruin everything, Mom? Just when I was finally happy." "That's not happiness, Lindsay," Martha said quietly. "It's fear." Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of Avery coming down the stairs. The girl entered the kitchen wearing long-sleeved pajamas, timidly. She immediately sensed the tension. "Good morning," Avery said in a small voice. "Avery," Lindsay called to her. "Grandma is saying strange things." "About Tom." The color drained from Avery's face. She looked at Martha. Martha nodded slightly and smiled encouragingly. "Mom." Avery began in a trembling voice. At that moment, the doorbell rang. The three of them stood frozen. That's Tom, Lindsay said. We promised to have breakfast together. Martha looked at Avery. Fear spread across the girl's face. Lindsay, wait, Martha grabbed her daughter's arm. You shouldn't see him now. We need to talk among ourselves first. What are you saying? Lindsay shook off her arm. Tom is my boyfriend. He's going to help us. Lindsay started walking toward the door. Avery trembled as she moved closer to Martha. Grandma, I'm scared, she whispered. Martha embraced her granddaughter's shoulders and said firmly, It's okay. Grandma is here. I won't let anyone hurt you anymore. The front door opened, and Tom's voice could be heard. Martha steeled her resolve. This would be a battle. But she was prepared to do anything to protect Avery. Avery, listen, Martha looked into her granddaughter's eyes. You've done nothing wrong. From now on, I'll protect you. I promise. Tears welled up in Avery's eyes. For the first time, a sense of security seemed to be born in the heart of a girl who had not been protected by anyone for a long time. Thank you, Grandma, Avery whispered softly. Martha stood up and headed to the living room. She was ready to confront Tom. For Avery's sake, and for Lindsay's, she needed to reveal the truth. The moment Martha entered the living room, she felt the air change. Tom sat on the sofa with his arm around Lindsay's waist. He looked up, saw Martha, and smiled pleasantly. Martha didn't miss what was hidden behind that smile. Good morning, Mrs. Watson, Tom stood up. I'm sorry to intrude. I had breakfast plans with Lindsay. Martha silently observed him. Expensive casual shirt, well-groomed hair, confident demeanor. On the surface, he was the perfect gentleman. But Martha's eyes saw another image. Where's Avery? Tom looked around. Is she still sleeping? No, she's awake, Martha answered calmly. But she has to prepare for school today. Unfortunately, she can't join us for breakfast. Tom's expression clouded for a moment. I see. That's too bad. Lindsay shot Martha a warning look. Tom, where are we going today? She tried to change the subject. Well, that's a secret, Tom regained his smile. I have a surprise. Martha returned to the kitchen and found Avery. The girl was staring out the window, making herself small. Avery, let's take a day off from school today, Martha said quietly. The two of us will go out. Avery turned around with a surprised face. Where? To the doctor's, Martha said in a low voice. To have your injuries examined. Fear appeared in Avery's eyes. But Mom will. Don't worry, Martha took her granddaughter's hand. I have a plan. The clinic doctor carefully examined the bruises on Avery's arms. She was a woman in her 40s with a gentle demeanor. How long have these bruises been there? She asked Avery. Avery looked at Martha. Martha nodded slightly. For a few months, Avery answered in a small voice. The first one since around June. The doctor silently photographed the bruises and took notes. Are there any other injuries? Avery lifted the hem of her shirt with trembling hands. There were similar bruises on her back. The doctor's expression grew severe. This is clear evidence of abuse, she said to Martha. I have a duty to report this to Child Protective Services. Martha nodded. That's exactly what I was going to ask you to do. After the examination, Martha and Avery stopped at a cafe. Avery held her hot chocolate with both hands, making herself small. Are you scared? Martha asked gently. Avery nodded. Mom will be angry. It might be difficult at first, Martha admitted. But this is the right thing to do. To protect you, we need to reveal the truth. Tom is strong, Avery couldn't hide her fear. He has money and knows a lot of people. Martha held her granddaughter's hand. But we have the truth. And the law is on our side. Jennifer Morris, the Child Protective Services caseworker, faced the three of them in Martha's living room. Lindsay sat at the edge of the sofa with an expression mixing anger and fear. "This is a misunderstanding," Lindsay said desperately. "Avery has a vivid imagination. She falls a lot and—" "Lindsay," Jennifer said calmly. "The medical diagnosis is clear. Avery's injuries cannot be explained by accidents. Tom wouldn't do such a thing." Lindsay's voice rose. "He's been helping us. He even pays our rent." "That doesn't give him the right to abuse your daughter," Martha said. Lindsay suddenly began to cry. "Then what are we supposed to do? How are we going to survive if Tom leaves us?" Martha placed her hand on her daughter's shoulder. "I'm here. I'll help you." Jennifer wrote something in her notebook and said, "First, we'll apply for a restraining order from the court. This will prevent Mr. Tom Bradley from approaching you. He'll be angry." Lindsay trembled with fear. "That's his problem," Martha said firmly. "I won't let him hurt you both ever again." 3 days after the restraining order was issued, Tom called. Lindsay held the receiver with trembling hands. Martha stood by her daughter's side, signaling her to put the call on speaker. "Lindsay, what have you done?" Tom's voice was low, with a dangerous resonance. "I received an order from the court." "Tom, Lindsay's voice trembled. "That brat lied, didn't she?" Tom's voice rose. "I would never do such a thing." Martha took the phone from her daughter's hand. "Tom, this is Martha. Don't contact my daughter and granddaughter ever again. We have plenty of evidence." "What do you know?" Tom shouted. "Lindsay and her daughter can't do anything without me." "That's not true," Martha said calmly. "They are strong. They can live without borrowing your power." "You'll regret this," Tom threatened. "I have connections. You'll lose your place in this town." "I've recorded this," Martha said. "Threats are also a crime." On the other end of the phone, Tom was silent for a moment. Then there was a violent sound of the receiver being slammed down. Lindsay collapsed onto the sofa. "What should we do? He really does have influence." "But we have the truth," Martha straightened up. "Plus, I've hired a lawyer." Martha had used part of her retirement money to hire Sarah Johnson, an attorney specializing in child abuse. Sarah was eagerly investigating the case, contacting not only Avery but also Tom's past girlfriends. "Lindsay, listen," Martha took her daughter's hand. "You're not alone. We're family. Let's get through this together." Lindsay wiped her tears. "I'm really sorry, Mom. I didn't notice anything, or maybe I didn't want to notice." "It's not too late," Martha said. "What matters is what we do from now on." On the day of the court hearing, Martha, Lindsay, and Avery sat with tense expressions. Attorney Sarah was confidently organizing her documents. "Don't worry," Sarah told the three of them. "The evidence is sufficient." Tom entered the court dressed in an expensive suit, with a confident expression. 2 lawyers were at his side. Lindsay shuddered at the sight of him. "He's scary," Avery said in a small voice. Martha squeezed her granddaughter's hand. "It's okay, we won't lose." As the hearing began, Sarah submitted Avery's medical records. Photos, doctor's diagnosis, psychological counselor's evaluation. And surprisingly, sworn statements from 2 of Tom's ex-girlfriends. They testified that they had suffered similar abuse. Tom's expression gradually changed. His confidence was turning into anxiety. The judge reviewed the evidence and ultimately issued a permanent restraining order. He also mentioned the possibility of criminal charges against Tom. "It's finally over," Lindsay said as they left the courthouse. She raised her gaze to look at the blue sky. It was as if she had been released from a cage she had been confined in for a long time. "It's the beginning," Martha smiled, "of a new life." Avery stood between them, holding both their hands. "Thank you, Grandma, for believing in me." Martha embraced her granddaughter. "Of course. We're family." The three of them headed home hand in hand. The road would be long, and it would still take time to heal the wounds. But Martha was certain they could overcome this together. Because the bond of family is stronger than any difficulty. 6 months later, autumn winds were blowing in Martha's backyard. Among the crimson-colored falling leaves, Avery sat in the hammock with a large sketchbook on her lap. She was drawing a landscape with colored pencils, occasionally smiling and looking up at the sky. Therapy twice a week had gradually brought changes to the girl. Her smiles increased, and her nightmares decreased. And most importantly, today was special. Avery was wearing a short-sleeved t-shirt. The bruises on her arms had mostly faded, though faint marks remained. She no longer tried to hide them. "Avery, it's tea time," Martha called from the porch. "Coming, Grandma." Avery added a final stroke to her half-finished drawing and got down from the hammock. The kitchen was filled with the aroma of freshly baked apple pie. Lindsay was arranging teacups on the table while putting away textbooks and notebooks. She had begun studying nursing at the local community college. It was Martha's influence. "How was your exam today?" Martha asked her daughter. "It was tough, but I'm okay," Lindsay shrugged. "Do you think I'll ever be as good a nurse as you, Mom?" Martha smiled. Having overcome years of estrangement, the mother-daughter relationship was now being repaired. Lindsay had regained her confidence and independence. "How's the new school?" Lindsay asked Avery. After the trial with Tom, they had moved to a different part of town. Avery had transferred to a new high school and was slowly beginning to make friends there. "It's good," Avery said, her cheeks flushing. "This Saturday, I'm going to the movies with members of the art club." "That's wonderful," Martha said, putting her arm around her granddaughter's shoulders. The three of them enjoyed their tea time, bathed in the sunset coming through the window. Conversation flowed, and occasionally laughter echoed in the room. The shadows of the past hadn't completely disappeared, but light was gradually driving away the darkness. "Grandma," Avery suddenly became serious. "Thank you." Martha looked into her granddaughter's eyes. "For what?" "For believing me. For protecting me," Avery said quietly. "Thanks to you, I realized I don't have to hide myself." Tears welled up in Martha's eyes. "You're a strong girl, Avery." "What happened to Tom?" Avery asked in a small voice. Until now, she had avoided asking about it. "He's in prison," Lindsay answered. "Other victims came forward, and he'll be there for a long time." Avery nodded slowly. An expression of relief spread across her face. Outside the window, the evening light was turning the autumn leaves golden, announcing the beginning of a new season. The three generations of women were looking toward the future, hand in hand. Wounds were healing, bonds were strengthening, and hope was being nurtured. Martha etched this peaceful moment in her heart. Though she was approaching the end of her life, she felt happy to be able to witness the new beginning of her daughter and granddaughter. It was the greatest gift of her life.